Chapter 1746, the fifth piece of Star Emperor token. Heaven and Earth law is an extremely profound thing. Yang Kai, as the gloomy Star Master, cannot break the legal blockade of Gloom Star. Ming Yue again how to do it. So Yang Kai concluded that Ming Yue definitely used some special methods to use Saint Yuan's power. Yang Kai is very curious about this method. Ming Yue complexion was slightly startled, not panicked, frowned saying, "You are not the island master. How do you know that the island master cannot break the law power here?" "I just know." Yang Kai smiled lightly, his face confident. His expression of understanding clearly in the mind made Ming Yue's face gloomy, and finally his attitude was no longer so easygoing. Cold Snort said, "Regardless of whether this island master can break the law, this island master can. There is no doubt about using Saint Yuan. Boy, you are dead." "Who wouldn't say anything? I don't know if you have this ability." Yang Kai suddenly loudly shouted, "Come out." When the words fell, a clear and loud bird song suddenly resounded across the sky. With this loud cry, a huge fiery bird burning like flames suddenly disappeared from him. The body shot out. The two wings spread out, almost covering half of the sky, and the scorching domain instantly spread. Everyone looked at the huge fiery bird in shock and felt the thick firepower on it. Suddenly some of the complexion turned white. Ming Yue's expression also became solemn. He was shocked it was discovered that this fiery bird, which had no entity and was completely composed of energy, contained not only the fierce firepower but also the violent Lei Ting power within the body. In that fiery red body, there is one after another dazzling purple glow shuttle, dancing around like a snake. Thunder fire same body. It's because Ming Yue has rich experience, experienced and knowledgeable, and I don't know what fiery bird comes from for a while. This is not over yet. After Fiery Bird made its debut, Yang Kai's appeared in front of Yang Kai's with a simple head and a stone man made of rock. The small stone man looked naive, but his shoulders he carried a dark cudgel on his back. The giant stick is in stark contrast with that small body, which looks quite funny. As soon as this small stone man appeared, he sent out a deep roar. In that roar, his figure quickly became bigger, and in the blink of an eye, he became a full dozen zhang high, supporting open heaven and the stone giant of the earth. Even the pitch-black giant stick that it resists on the shoulders becomes thicker and longer. Everyone is raising the head and looking up, an indescribable oppression dropping from the sky makes them breathless. Ming Yue's face finally changed, and he looked at Yang Kai in horror. "Fuck him," Yang Kai ordered lightly. The sound of birds and beasts resounded across the entire gloomy Soul Island in an instant. Fiery Bird slapped wing, and in just a moment, he came to the top of Ming Yue's head, under the majestic phoenix eyes. "Zhang, open your mouth." A thunderfire is like lightning that fell from the sky, slashing towards Ming Yue. Ming Yue screamed, "How dare to stay in place. Immediately use the body method to avoid." With a thud, the ground was dusty, and a huge pit appeared where Ming Yue was originally standing. Until Ming Yue came back to his senses, a rush of heavy footsteps approached. Dong dong dong. Stone puppet strode. The two big feet were like drumsticks, violently hitting the ground, making the sound of war drums. Far away from Ming Yue 20 zhang, stone puppet waved the heaven shaking pillar. A few 100 kilograms of heaven shaking pillar is like a toy in its hand, without the slightest weight. The violent wind that can be rolled up almost blasted Ming Yue away. Ming Yue's face turned pale, and he stretched out his hand and touched it. After a flash of brilliance, a black hexagonal shield appeared in front of him. The hexagonal shield was spinning round and round, exuding a void grade middle rank grade. Aura, will know when you see it, is extremely defensive, and the waiting void return stage is basically impossible to break it open with one blow. But Ming Yue didn't see any relaxation at all. His expression became more solemn, his feet were wrong, and his figure exploded. Bang! Heaven shaking pillar hit the hexagonal shield above. The hexagonal shield almost failed to block for a moment. It was directly exploded into countless fragments. Heaven shaking pillar with the unstoppable might continued to smash towards Ming Yue. Fortunately, he saw the opportunity quickly, and finally avoided this terrifying blow, but the remaining power swept by the club front still forced him to be extremely embarrassed. His clothes were instantly torn, and the strong wind split him. In the body, red fresh blood flows from everywhere. Li. A terrible bird song sounded above the head. Ming Yue raises the head, and a heart suddenly sank to the bottom. He found that the huge fiery bird came on top of his head again, one after another. A thunder fire resembling a serpent burst out from it within the body, and blasted the place where he was. Several 10-jiang ranges are wrapped tightly. There is no way to avoid it. Lightning and thunder, the fire blasted into the sky. Within a few 10-jiang radius, it instantly became a hell on earth. The entire gloomy Soul Island was trembling. Several of Ming Yue's subordinates have long lost the ability to think. They looked at Ming Yue's figure and were swallowed by countless thunder fires. Everyone was like an ice cellar. But as powerful as Xia Hu, his body trembled in shock. He didn't realize until now that Yang Kai simply didn't exert his full strength when he was fighting with him. At that time, if he released this weird stone giant and fiery bird, how could his own have life? Whether it is a stone giant or a fiery bird, it is enough to easily crush the own, and the power of the flesh body that Owns is proud of is not even a fart in front of these two weird creatures. Fortunately, the relationship between Own and Yang Kai's is not too stale, even turning the enemy into a friend. As soon as he thought of this, Xia Hu was afraid for a while, and at the same time secretly thanked his own for his wise decision. But, what is the origin of this Yang Kai? Is it powerful enough to sweep the entire Gloom Star? It seems that after this time, the owner has to ask Pang Zhen to ask Yang Kai's history. Xia Hu secretly made up his mind, and his mind floated back to battlefield again. From this look, he couldn't help but sigh softly. He found that Ming Yue, who was in the center of the hell on earth, was not killed immediately. Instead, he still had a vitality that was not weak. Xia Hu didn't know how Ming Yue did it. It was his words, 10 lives were lost with this kind of blow. Yang Kai obviously discovered this, but instead of being surprised, he looked at it with interest. For a short while, thunder and thunder, lightning snake dancing wildly, fire sea sky full of doomsday scenes disappeared. In the scorched earth center of those 10 jiang, Ming Yue stood there panting, looking very embarrassed. At this moment, he no longer has the elegant demeanor he had before. His clothes are almost completely ruined, his hair is messy, his body surface is burnt, and the vitality within the body is also intermittent. If it weren't for the quality of his flesh body, I'm afraid he would have been killed. He can continue to stand there, thanks to taking Muddy Heaven pill all the year round, tempering flesh body, which makes his body full of vitality and blood. But that's it. He looked at Yang Kai blankly, his face was unwilling, and he clenched something in his hand. Yang Kai's eyes shifted to see the true face of the thing. That is actually a token, and Yang Kai feels very familiar with this token. From the token, there is clearly a power of Emperor prestige. Star Emperor token. Yang Kai frowned. He didn't expect anything. Ming Yue actually has a Star Emperor token in his hand. Under Yang Kai's perception, it is precisely with this Star Emperor token that Ming Yue can communicate with the world's spiritual energy of gloomy Soul Island, mobilize his own Saint Yuan and potential field, and be able to fiery bird's fierce attack persisted until now. This ghost place is actually related to Yang Yan. This idea flashed through Yang Kai's mind quickly. He didn't hesitate anymore, he shook his figure before rushing to Ming Yue and slapped him with a palm. Ming Yue is already an arrow at the end of its flight, unable to resist at all. This palm has directly become the last straw that crushes the camel, and he looks at Yang Kai with a palm hitting him. There's no resistance. With a muffled sound, Ming Yue fell on his back. Yang Kai had quick eyes and quick hands, and removed the Star Emperor token and space ring from his hand. With his back to Xia Hu and the others, Yang Kai carefully rubbed this piece of Star Emperor token, and soon he determined that it was indeed the Star Emperor token, because the pieces that the owner had were related to this one looks exactly the same. In the induction of spiritual mind, this Star Emperor token seems to have some subtle connections with gloomy Soul Island, a certain position. Yang Kai raises the head and looks in that direction. Old Shah, take care of the rest of your own business, I'll go there and check it out. Yang Kai said, and immediately disappeared. Xia Hu was taken aback, not at all caring too much, but turned his head and looked at the men belonging to Ming Yue with a grin. Until now, several people came back to his senses and shouted in horror, Xia Island Master, spare your life, it was Ming Yue that forced me to wait 100 years ago, not of my own will. Hey, voluntarily or involuntarily, nothing to do with old man, wronged, owed, you have 100 years ago with Ming Yue thieves, embarrassed old man, if it weren't for old man's death, I'm afraid today there is no way to avenge the hatred. It is useless to say more about it. Let's take your life. Xia Hu twinkling outside of his body, twinkling the rays of light, rushing to the martial artists, such as tiger entering a flock of sheep, no people are one of them, but with 10 breaths, several people were killed in the palm of the hand. The revenge is avenged. Xia Hu stands still, roar towards the sky, the roar is like thunder, rolling everywhere. Thousands of martial artists in gloomy Soul Island, all of them look towards the source of the howling. The complexion changed slightly. They know that gloomy Soul Island has changed. Gloomy Soul Island is located in a small cove near the center. Yang Kai steps in. Since entering here, the Star Emperor token originally belonging to Ming Yue has been buzzing, as if to leave Yang Kai's control. The view of this mountain col is good. Several huts have been built. I don't know whose residence it is, but now it is empty. Yang Kai turned his head and looked at all around, expressing suspiciously. Although this mountain col feels a bit weird, his observation alone cannot detect what is going on. Thinking about it, Yang Kai let go of his opponent's suppression of the Star Emperor token. The Star Emperor token flew out immediately, drawing a beautiful arc in the air, and with the flying of the Star Emperor token, a dark hole appeared in the void suddenly. Those holes are filled with nihility chaos, and strong space force fluctuations come out from the holes. Yang Kai's face suddenly became serious.